Hello, this is the Captain Paxo, welcoming you to episode 14 of the weekly hunt, where we're using the good old boopin and tootin. Is that how you say it? We're using the hunting horn. English is hard. The hunting horn. What can I say about it that hasn't already been said? It's the best weapon that you probably are not using. It has incredible power. It has the ability to KO and exhaust monsters, and it gives buff that support you and your team. Like, what's not like about that? Well, it's not a very flashy weapon. That's pretty much my only gripe with it, is that I don't know. I don't know how to explain it other than it just isn't that flashy. I sort of enjoy using it. I can't say 100% wholeheartedly enjoy it, because I find it does get a little bit boring, and it can feel a little bit lackluster when you got stuff like the Wyvern Fire on the Gun Lance and the Ultra on the Charge Blade, and even just like the Foresight Slash on the Longsword and stuff like that. Every weapon that's, you know, relatively big has something super flashy about them. Even the Sword and Shield has the backstep into the follow-up where you launch yourself into the air, but the hunting horn, the fanciest thing you've got is the melody or the encore, where you play the song and it does a ton of KO damage to a monster. That's like the fanciest thing that you've got, and it is very damaging, but it's got a lot of wind up and a lot of recovery, and if you get hit out of that, that's your song cancelled. And sometimes, depending on what part of the melody animation you get hit on, you're gonna have to reapply the buffs. You're gonna have to charge up the notes again, which is just a part of the weapon. You know, it's more incompetence on the user's part than it is just the weapon being not all that fun to play. It's a downside of it. The upside, though, is it can do a lot of damage. Like, people sleep on the hunting horn because they think it's just a weapon that gives people buffs and thus doesn't do that much damage, because supportive weapons generally don't do a lot of damage in video games. That's the kind of trade-off that most games imply, is that you know, if you want to be supportive, it means that you're not going to do as much damage yourself. But it just isn't true with the hunting horn. I mean, the self-improvement, for example, gives you a plus 15% damage increase, and then the attack up large, when you encore it, becomes extra large. That gives you a 20% damage increase. So right off of the bat, if you've got an attack up large buff on the hunting horn, you've just instantly got 35% increase in damage. That's better than having infinite crits, or perma crits, whatever you want to call it, where every single hit is a crit. That's better than that, you know? That's what's the damage that you get out of level 7 attack? Is it like just a flat 30? Well, I don't think that's an increase of like 30%. That's just 30. If it was 30%, I can't do that sort of maths in the head, thanks to bloat values and whatnot. But needless to say, with attack up large or extra large and the self-improvement, you are dealing a lot of damage, and because you're able to apply that attack up extra large, the 20% damage boost, to the rest of your team, that is a huge amount of damage that you're dishing out to a monster, right? And when you've got stuff like defense up large or health recovery and stuff like that, it really lends itself to being able to support players who are maybe not so great at the game, that are maybe having an off day and getting beat up by a monster. It really allows you to kind of carry your team without having to do ludicrous amounts of damage to a monster. It allows people to just survive for longer, and more survivability means less carting, and less carting means more time fighting the monster and a better chance to succeed, you know? This weapon is incredible. It just isn't flashy. and thus can get a little bit tedious to use from time to time. It can get a little bit repetitive, especially if you're using the same hunting horn, which was a mistake that I kind of made. During this week, I only really used 2 hunting horns. I used the Dodo Gamma one that you're watching right now, and the Xenojiva one, and they're both good hunting horns. But I wanted to try and get the Basil Reed Rook Slayer, because that's got like health recovery small on it or something like that. And I also wanted to use one of the cool Vitaroth weapons that I got, because that has recovery large on it. And I'm kind of thinking, like, if I stack 3 recover larges and then play them all in a row and hit the encore, that's going to be an insane amount of healing potential. Because if you don't know, one of the cool ways, or one of the ways to heal your teammates with recovery buffs from the hunting horn, most of them are small. Like with the I think the Nergigante one has it as well, but with the Basil Reed Rook Slayer, you have like recover small or something like that. It doesn't heal all that much. It might heal like maybe 20% of your overall health, but you can stack up songs, up to 3 songs, right? And then you hit the melody, and then it will play one, and then another, and then another, and then you can encore all 3 of them, and they all stack. So all of a sudden, that 20% health then becomes a hell of a lot more. Or maybe it's not quite 20%. It's not a lot of health on its own, but you can stack them up, and it really makes them quite powerful. And I believe the recover up armor skill stacks with the hunting horn buff as well as horn maestro, so you can actually get a significant amount of heals, which again, just kind of carrying players who are maybe just getting thrown around a lot by a monster. You might not deal as much damage as if you were using an attack up large hunting horn, but again, you can still deal a lot of damage whilst supporting your team. That's just how hunting horn do, you know? Deals damage and prevents teammates from dying. Some of the time. Don't forget your life powders, because that's another essential part. Not necessarily of just hunting horn, but of just playing in general. Like, the amount of times that I've saved other people and have my own life saved by life powder is too numerous to count, you know? So, if you're in a hunting group and nobody has life powder, it can be kind of tricky, you know? Life powder is incredibly powerful, because if you can't heal for yourself, like you've just got way too much pressure put on you by the monster, or you're stunned or something like that, then someone else can save your ass for you, you know? It really is a very powerful tool, and it heals everyone as well. If everyone's a little bit low on life, then you can use a life powder to heal them. That's one of the reasons why like wide range builds are so popular, is because being able to heal everyone on the team at the same time is really powerful, since there are a lot of, I don't want to say bad players, because they're not necessarily bad, but players who are getting thrown around by a monster, you know, like I said, they might be having an off day or something like that. They might not know the monster all that well, but one way or another, they're getting thrown around by the monster, and they kind of need a little bit of support. You can do that with wide range, or life powder, or a health recovery hunting horn. And because of that, it's quite powerful. It just means that you're going to be failing less, which means less farming, you know, less repeating of quests, because you'll get more stuff. I feel like I'm rambling at this point, but no. Welcome to the Weekly Hunt. It's where I ramble a lot. One of the cool little tricks that you can do with the health boost buff on the hunting horn is it essentially acts as a max potion, but only on the first time that you use it. Once it's been used and everyone's been affected by it, it won't actually heal them unless they die, you know? So the health boost large can be used as another healing buff that the hunting horn has to offer, but it can only be used like once per life, essentially. Excuse me whilst I drink some water. It's rather warm today. Oh, God. I kind of... I've been a little bit sneaky. Full disclosure, full transparency. I haven't exclusively used the hunting horn this week. I focused on the hunting horn, but I've also used some other weapons. I've used a little bit of a lot of the gun lance, and I also used a little bit of the hammer. And the reason for that was I'm starting to build my other two save files up to the point where they can actually, like, you know, fight tempered monsters in high rank and whatnot, tempered elder dragons. I'm trying to get them to that point so I can get them to maybe more effectively farm Kulve Taroth for when she comes back the next time. There's no way I'm going to be able to get these two characters in preparation for tomorrow, because if you don't know, Kulve is returning tomorrow. But the time after that is when I'm going to be they're going to be fighting Kulve Taroth, because as previously stated, like, there's just not enough equipment slots to be able to have literally everything on one character. So I'm spreading my weapons out on 3 different characters, and that's why I've been using these other weapons, is because I want to build them up at some point. I'm going to have to do it at some point, so I thought might as well start now. I'm not too sure if I want to just, like, pause the weekly hunt, or not the weekly hunt, the week of weapons, because the way that I've divided these characters, or the weapons across the characters, not every character has access to every weapon, you know? I've divided the weapons into 2 characters have 5 different weapons, and 1 character has 4. So, you know, whilst only one character has access to the hunting horn, or will have access to the hunting horn when it's all complete, because at the moment, you know, my second character, the main character that you've been watching most of the weekly hunts on, has access to every weapon. But when I get the other 2 characters up to a point where they're fighting like tempered elder dragons, I'm going to start selling off the weapons that I'm not going to be using on this character. And one of them is actually the hunting horn. Like, this character isn't going to be using the hunting horn. So for future reference, I'm going to be referring to my characters as first, second, and third, and that just refers to the save slots that they're in. Yeah, it just makes it easier on me. I can be lazy about English. I'm allowed. Yeah, my second character isn't going to have access to the hunting horns in the future. That's going to be on my first character, right? But for now, I'm using hunting horns on my second and not my first, because, well, my second actually has access to fighting tempered elder dragons, which is what I want to do, you know? This thing is going to triple my, like, the amount of farming that I'm going to have to do, because I'm going to have to do, like, every event quest 3 times to get it on every single character. And I'm going to have to do, like, every, like, weekly limited bounties, like, 3 times as well. But hey, it's all in the name of getting absolutely everything. And I'm under no illusion that it's probably going to take about 3 years to do, but I mean, that's why I did it. I want to be playing this game for a very long time. Also debating whether or not to try and get the platinum status on all 3 characters. That one's a bit like, maybe I shouldn't, because that's gonna take a really long time, but we'll see. But regardless, we're never going to run out of things to do in Monster Hunter World, which is good for me, you know? Because I don't want to stop playing this game. This game's too much fun. Even if I do prefer Generations, I still absolutely love World, you know? And that brings me on to something that has actually been frustrating me about the community. So all positivity kind of gone out of the window, I'm afraid. It's going to be a bit more negative, bit more, how should I say it? Yeah, just negative Nancy in general. It's been annoying me that some people in the community, vocal minority, I should say. I haven't seen too many people do this, but a couple. They kind of make a comment on like a YouTube video, and it's kind of along the lines of, you know, Monster Hunter World isn't a true Monster Hunter game, and, you know, if you can't really call yourself a true fan unless you've played some of the older games, or something like that. Some of them are a little bit less egregious than others. Some of them are like, oh well, you know, I've played Monster Hunter Freedom, so you know my opinion's more valid than yours. Not quite those exact words, but that's the sort of sense that they were kind of putting out. Because I saw a comment of someone asking like, I've been really enjoying World, and I was thinking like, I have a 3DS, should I get Generations or For You? You know, which one should I get? Thank you, sliding, for causing me to roll instead of jump. I'm blaming the sliding, I don't know if that's actually what it was. But anyway, they were asking, like, which one should I get? Generations or For You? And then someone responded to that saying, get Freedom Unite. Which is on the PSP. And you're kind of thinking, that's not an answer. It's like, oh, which one should I get, you know? Chocolate or strawberry? Vanilla. It's not answering the question. I asked for either chocolate or strawberry. No, you have vanilla. No, it's chocolate or strawberry. Yeah, but vanilla? No, it's not what I'm asking here. I'm not asking which one out of all of them you would recommend. I'm asking which one out of these two. It's a binary answer, one or the other, not this other one. And I'm not hating on Freedom Unite. I'm not hating on people who played those games. I mean, I have a lot of respect for those people because those games had some really egregious hitboxes and is the OG Monster Hunter. It's where the game was least refined and at its hardest, you know? But this guy wasn't asking, like, which Monster Hunter out of all of them should I play. He was asking, I have a 3DS, which one should I get, Generations or For You? And this guy's like, Freedom Unite. You know? Oh dear. It just kind of annoys me, the idea that people think that they're perhaps better than other people because they've played these other games. And that's probably not like the mindset, like I'm better than you because I've done this. Maybe more so like, oh well, you haven't played Freedom Unite, you don't know what a true Monster Hunter game is like. You just haven't played one, you know. And whether you like it or not, Monster Hunter World is a Monster Hunter game. It's not like a hard Monster Hunter game. It's not like a I have to be careful with how I say this here, because, you know, some people might find World quite difficult fighting something like a Tempered Kirin or a Tempered Devil Joe, and they might not find other games hard, but this Monster Hunter World is the Monster Hunter game that's most accessible for new players, and at the moment it is not all that difficult in relative terms of difficulty. It's not that bad, you know. So it's kind of like they've lowered the skill floor, so they've made it more accessible and easier to get into. But the skill ceiling, we're not quite sure where it's at right at the moment. It's a bit nebulous. Like, have they lowered it as well? Because that's always my thing. Like, I don't mind games being more accessible. I don't mind developers lowering the skill floor to make it more accessible for new players, as long as you don't touch the skill ceiling, as long as you don't lower that, because then you're compressing the skill gap, then you're trying to close the distance between the good player and the bad player, and all of a sudden the good player is not going to feel so good about themselves anymore. They're going to feel kind of cheated, they're going to feel a little bit betrayed. But if you could increase that skill gap, or if you could increase that skill ceiling, then good players are going to feel even better. There's going to be even more for them to learn. You know? But it's very difficult to lower the skill floor without touching the skill ceiling, and I feel like a lot of people kind of recognize that in some semblance with World, where it's a lot easier to get into, but at the same time, World has kind of lost some of the more, how should I say, patience testing systems in previous games. Like when you pick up a herb, it's a herb every single time. You're not going to get like some fell vine or a sap plant or something like that out of a herb. Every time you pick up a herb, it's a herb. You don't have to guess. You don't have to pray to RNGesus for that. It's always a herb, you know? You don't have to farm up pickaxes or whetstones or bug nets or anything like that, you know? There's much fewer gathering quests. There's no fishing quests. Egg delivery is so much easier now, you know? They've done all of these things to make the game more accessible, but at the same time, because those things were such a core, not really, well, sort of a core concept of the older Monster Hunter games, people kind of look at Monster Hunter World and go, it's kind of casualized, you know? I've kind of, again, gonna have to word this quite carefully because I don't want to say something that I don't mean. We're doing an off-the-cuff unscripted commentary does have its downsides. You know, you might end up saying something that you don't really mean, or you say something and you don't elaborate it all that well, and someone might get the wrong idea. It's a little bit of a concern, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. You know, there's no changing that. You can just try and get better at doing live commentaries. But I saw a bit of a rant by someone who was a little bit annoyed at the Monster Hunter community because they were complaining that Monster Hunter World has been like westernized or casualized and stuff like that. And I can see why people were saying that, as previously stated. They've made all these changes to make Monster Hunter so much easier to get into. But then recently I've also seen a lot of comments kind of... Oh, again... I'm all over the place, I do apologize. I've seen people kind of look at Double Cross and say, why would we need Double Cross when we have... Well, this was back when Generations Ultimate was not announced. People didn't know if Double Cross was going to come to the West. We were hoping, didn't know. But then when World was announced, everyone was like, nah, fuck Double Cross, we don't need that, World is what we've got. But now that World's been out and people are finding maybe it's a little bit easier, maybe it's not the Monster Hunter experience that they prefer, and Generations Ultimate is out, there's a lot of people who are like, nah, fuck World, they casualized it, they westernized it, it's super easy, it's time for Generations Ultimate. And I'm just sort of thinking like, okay. We're going back and forth here, people. Like, come on. Also, why can't we like both? Why can't we like both World and Generations Ultimate? Like, is that so hard to believe that there are people out there who like both of them? You know, like me. I love World. I also love Generations. I prefer Generations at the moment, mostly because there's more to discover. But I still love World. Is there a problem with that? Am I not allowed to do that? Am I not a Monster Hunter fan because of that? I don't know. It's very strange. Which will also bring me on to Dauntless, which open beta comes out tomorrow, and I'm very excited for. I'll be playing the shit out of it. People point at Dauntless and go, it's just a Monster Hunter ripoff. And it's like, yeah? Duke Nukem was a ripoff of Doom. Wolfenstein was a ripoff of Doom. You know? Every first-person shooter was a ripoff of Doom, but they, you know, innovated in ways to make them maybe not so much of a ripoff. You know, PUBG is a ripoff of other Battle Royale games. Fortnite is also a ripoff of other Battle Royale games. You know? Everything is a ripoff of everything else, but has been iterated upon in so many different ways that it becomes harder and harder to recognize it. Thing is, Monster Hunter hasn't had any clones, or any clones that I am aware of, other than Dauntless. Dauntless is the first Monster Hunter-like game that I've come across. You know, remember when, what was it, Lords of the Fallen came out? Everyone was like, well, it's just a Dark Souls ripoff. It's just a Dark Souls clone. And then more Dark Souls-like games started to come out, and the Souls-like genre kind of came into being. And now we've got quite a few different Souls-like games that are all really cool and creative in their own way, but are not directly tied towards Dark Souls. And it's kind of hard to call them Souls ripoffs because they're of such good quality, and there are so many of them, and they're all so different, that it's like, they're not just Dark Souls ripoffs. They're not just clones, they're more than that. And that's what I think Dauntless could be. Maybe it is just a Monster Hunter ripoff, maybe it is a terrible game, I haven't played it, I don't know yet. But let's at least give it a chance. I mean, more games that are like the more games that are like Monster Hunter that come out, the more competition Monster Hunter itself has, the more different studios might put their own twist on the Monster Hunter formula, the more they might experiment, the more Capcom might experiment, because there's more competitors, there's more reason to create the best product ever. Why is it such a bad thing that Dauntless is ripping off Monster Hunter? Why is it such a bad thing that they're taking so many aspects that really work well in Monster Hunter and putting their own spin on it? I don't understand that. You know? And again, why can't we like both? Why... People are like, oh, well, we play Dauntless when we can just play Monster Hunter World comes out. Well, why can't we just play both, you know? Why can't I play Monster Hunter World, Monster Hunter Generations, Dauntless, and then Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate when it comes out, you know? Why can't I do that? Why do I have to be stuck with one game? I get that, like, the live services things, and generally you only have time for one live service, but it's like, these are all different games. I can enjoy them all in different ways because they have different things to offer, you know? Maybe in Monster Hunter Generations, you know, I enjoy the aspect of the Hunter arts and being able to play as a Prowler, but maybe in World, I really like the aspect that you can, you know, use the Switch Axe, or you can use the Morph Attack on the Switch Axe from every move in the game. Like, every move that the Switch Axe has, you can use a Morph Attack. You can't do that in Generations, you know? Maybe I like the Foresight Slash, maybe I like the attack up buff that you get with the self-improvement on the Hunting Horn, maybe I like the way the Sword and Shield plays a bit more, like the Infinite Triangle combo, or not having to rely on Adept to get that sweet mount animation, you know? Maybe I like that I have to time my dodges a little bit better and can't just rely on Adept. Maybe I like the way the armor works. Like, I don't just have to stick to one game. I am allowed to play multiple games and, you know, respect them for being different games. Comparisons are abound, of course. Dauntless is a very similar game to Monster Hunter, so just as Sultan Sanctuary was greatly compared to Dark Souls because they were two very similar games, so too will Dauntless and Monster Hunter be compared, and it's okay to do so. It's okay to be like, okay, which one does which aspects better? Does Monster Hunter do like the tracking down of the monster better? Does Dauntless do the combat better, the stamina management? Does it maybe do the gear upgrading better? Does maybe Monster Hunter give you more options? Is the movement better in Dauntless? I don't know. We'll find out. Comparisons are abound, of course. It's fine. But to just say, like, we shouldn't play Dauntless because we have Monster Hunter is just kind of like, I mean, maybe Dauntless has something different. Maybe it has something better. You know? Maybe it'll show us something that we hadn't thought about was not so great in Monster Hunter, and now we're going to want to see that in Monster Hunter. And again, maybe we'll see more Monster Hunter-like games come out. Better ones, and just, you know, improve the competition to kind of make it so Capcom are like, okay, we really want to improve Monster Hunter to the best of our ability, you know? Because how's that going to hurt anyone? Competition is better for everyone. Like, I think, how did I put it? Like, more games is more options is more competition is more quality. Is basically what I said in a comment that I left on someone's video. Because it's like, well, yeah. That's just it. The more games there are, the more options that we have to choose from, the more we can go, well, I prefer this game for this reason, and I prefer this game for that reason. And then the more competition there is, the more companies have to be like, okay, we really have to put in everything we've got to make this the best game ever to, you know, steal the competition. You know? And that means higher quality games for us, which, who doesn't want higher quality games, you know? Monster Hunter might be phenomenal, but there's always something it can be improved upon, you know? very angry ramble over, and hopefully I don't have to come back to this again in the future. Like, I just kind of wanted to vent. It was pretty messy, very sloppy commentary. I really apologise for that. It was a bit of a negative Nancy move for me to do, but it's over now. We're back to Monster Hunter World. We're in a happy place. Everything's good. We're playing Monster Hunter. We're fighting an Anjanath. Happy. God. And I'm getting beat up. Because that's one of the things with the hunting horn. You do actually have to play quite well, because you don't have a fantastic defensive option, and a lot of your moves have a lot of recovery frames on them. I mean, the forward triangle circle is like a 2-hitter, and it's kind of slow. And even the forward circle is like a double hitter, and that's kind of slow as well. And of course, all the encores are quite slow. And your dodge isn't, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not amazing either. Like, it does have, or it's not as powerful as, say, I kind of want to say the hammer roll is really powerful, just because I find it a lot easier to actually evade roars with it. I don't know why. Maybe it's something to do with the power charge. Maybe it's just the hammer in general. Maybe I'm actually good. Maybe I get more confident when I use the hammer. But something about it just makes it so much easier for me to roll through roars. But I don't seem to be able to do that with the hunting horn. Hence earplugs, because I got so pissed off at getting roared out of my encores that I just put on earplugs. I was like, I want to play the songs of my people. Let me do that. Stop interrupting me with your loud, angry roars. Watch this, by the way. This is incredible. So I'm stunned. Anjanath comes in for an attack, and this dude just like the flashbot just comes in from out of the screen, stunning the Anjanath out of the attack. That was awesome. Like, just comes in out of nowhere. I'm like, I'm gonna get killed here. Boosh! My nice and shining armor. I'm alive. If I wasn't panicking at the time trying to hold a conversation with my friends, I would have done like the palico with the heart sticker, but I was panicking pretty fucking bad at the time, trying to fight this Anjanath and talking to my friends. Playing and talking, it's a skill that I have not quite acquired with Monster Hunter just yet. But that reminds me, actually, because the topic that I was talking about with my friends was the Monster Hunter movie. Again, back into the negative Nancy stuff. But I think this is more negative Nancy stuff that would be a little bit less controversial. A little bit less pissing other people off, and a bit more like universal, us as Monster Hunter fans kind of being like, what is Hollywood thinking? Like, what are they doing trying to make a Monster Hunter movie? They better fucking they better do their research. That's pretty much what everyone's saying, and that's what I'm saying. They better do their research, you know? The little test footage that I saw, this is test footage, so this could all change. I think the script's been changed a couple times. I really hope so, because the test footage was set in the real world, and my biggest question is, why, oh why, would you set a Monster Hunter film, Monster Hunter, right, in the real world, in the modern world? Why would you not set it in the Monster Hunter world, where you have all of these, like, ancient ruins and wide open fields and epic fantasy mountains and stuff like the Coral Highlands and Rotten Vale and Everstream and volcanoes and crap like that, you know? Why wouldn't we set it there when we have, where we have stuff like, why the real world? Because at that point, you might as well replace the monsters with demons, and you'd have an such a similar plot that you can't really call it Monster Hunter. That's my thoughts anyway. If you're gonna have like these monsters like come to the real world from a portal in the sky or something, then it's just like, well, at that point it might as well just be Marvel Avengers Assemble, you know, where all the aliens are coming through the portal, or it could be like Hellboy or something, or just anything. At that point, it's not really Monster Hunter anymore, is it? It's just random demons come and invade our world through a portal in the sky. Yeah, that's creative, isn't it? Whereas when you set it in the Monster Hunter world, you have stuff like the Dragon War, or like the 4U storyline of the of Gore Magala and the Frenzy Virus, or you could use the Monster Hunter World storyline of the Elder Crossing and Xeno'jiiva, you know, or you could just come up with your own Elder Dragon or your own story or anything like that. Like, Monster Hunter is such a fantastical world that you can pretty much do anything that you want with it within reason. And that's one of the great things about Monster Hunter. Like, I know Monster Hunter isn't exactly realistic, and I saw someone saying, like, well, Monster Hunter isn't exactly realistic in the first place, but all I can think is, realistic? No. Immersive? Yes. And this is, like, one of the key parts of immersion. It doesn't have to be realistic to be immersive. What it does have to be, though, is consistent. Consistent in the story. I mean, if a random jet fighter, not talking about Basil Goose here, but a random, like, actual B-52 bomber came out of nowhere in Monster Hunter, it just wouldn't quite work. Again, I'm not talking about Basil Goose here. Basil Goose is a monster. He works because he is a monster, and this is Monster Hunter. And there's lots of crazy things like Uragan being able to drop the bombs, and Dodogama like mixing the Everstream crystals with its saliva to create bombs like that, and Basil Goose has his scales are explosive, you know. It's all consistent. It's all Monster Hunter. It would be really out of place if, you know, we have a Rathalos in the real world, because then it's not consistent at all. We've got a big angry dragon from this kind of I don't know how to call it, like ancient steampunk kind of era to the modern era. It's very out of place, you know. And when I say modern or ancient steampunk, it kind of is. There's like a lot of wow, I can't really say too much that it's Monster Hunter is kind of steampunky, but when you look at Astera and you've got all like the chains going on, and the smithy and all those kind of cool mechanisms in the smithy, and you've got stuff like the bow guns, it's kind of trying to push the idea of this like ancient style a little bit further forward, whilst also keeping the aesthetic of the kind of ancient, you know, using a great great sword made out of bone kind of thing, you know. Basically, the point is that setting Monster Hunter in the real world is just really out of place and doesn't gel well with the main, like, world of Monster Hunter. So why would you set it in the real world? Why would you not try and set it in the Monster Hunter world, where your opportunities for creative potential of crazy storylines is just so much greater, you know? They could have come up with their own Elder Dragon. Maybe they will. I don't know. It's all test footage, but at the end of the day, it's straight up like, let's just hope that they do their research and it doesn't turn into Resident Evil, where the films don't follow the storyline at all. You know? They do their own kind of thing, and it doesn't really make much sense, but it's still called Resident Evil, so I guess it's Resident Evil. I don't know. One of the things that a lot of people were kind of looking at as like, good God, this film's already doomed, is Gore Magala having eyes. Again, it's test footage, so they could quite easily replace it, but it is like, it really is a case of they haven't quite paid enough attention to these monsters, and it really does feel like they're being a bit lazy, a bit sloppy about things, but only time will tell, right? Been rambling on a lot about negative stuff at this point. I do apologize. There's just been a lot of things on my mind recently. And this weekend's going to be pretty busy, because as mentioned previously, Dauntless comes out tomorrow, but of course Kulve Taroth comes out tomorrow as well, so I'm going to have to juggle that. And then I've got Dark Souls Remastered coming out on Friday, so, you know, gotta try and do some of the PvP in that game, try and make some videos for that, and of course do a live commentary playthrough for that, because that's just what I do apparently. Get that out for Monday, and what else? good God, I'm sure there's something else that I'm forgetting. Oh yeah, I've been thinking about maybe like streaming on a Saturday. Like, I know I asked for your guys' like requests for weapons that I'm gonna use in the weekly hunt, which by the way next week is gonna be week of the dual blades. And I also know that nobody ever comments on that. So like, that's fine, you know, I've always got the roulette wheel that I can go back to for that, but this time, like, I would kind of really appreciate some feedback. I'm not sure if I want to stream on Twitch or YouTube. I'm thinking about doing it on YouTube since, you know, that's where people know to find me, but if I do it on Twitch, then it's, I don't know, that's just, like, seems to be the thing to do. It seems to be a much better streaming service than YouTube at the moment. But I'm not entirely sure, because I kind of don't really want to flood my YouTube with stream VODs. But maybe that would be something that you're interested in. Who knows? Yeah, I'm just asking for suggestions, you know. I'm thinking of streaming from, like, 2 PM British summertime. I don't know time zones. I'm really sorry about that, but it's 2 PM British summertime on a Saturday until whenever I want. And it might not necessarily be Monster Hunter. It probably will be this Saturday, just me farming Kulve Taroth with the dual blades. But the week after, or next week, might be different. It might be Dark Souls. It might be whatever the hell I feel like. It might be Brawlhalla. I might actually start playing that game again. Oh yeah, just to let you guys know and ask for a little bit of feedback on that one. I guess I should make the go-to YouTube, huh? Anyway. God damn it, train of thought. Where's it gone? I was going to talk about something. Fuck. Kulve Taroth, dual blades. I need to farm a Diablos for the dual blade. This is going to be death. Oh my god, that was close. Yeah, I need to farm Diablos to get some majestic horns for my Thunder dual blades. And then I'm going to need to farm... No, just... Yeah. Just Diablos, because I can get the Wyvern gem. I'm rambling on about myself, just trying to think, what do I need to farm to make the Tobi-Kadachi dual blades? At this point, I've kind of lost the plot. Actually, here's a thought. If for some reason you're interested in this, the way that I've split up the weapons on each of my characters, like I said, the first, second, and third kind of thing, I split the weapon, like I selected 3 weapons that were my all-time favorites, and then I selected 3 more weapons that were my second favorites, and then 3 more that were tertiary favorites, and at that point I only had 2 Blade Master weapons left over, and, you know, since there are 3 gunner weapons, I figured, hey, let's have a gun weapon on each character. So, for the first character, the number 1 save slot, that's end up with the longsword, the hunting horn, gun lance, switch axe, and the bow. Is that right? Longsword, hunting horn, gun lance, switch axe, bow. I'm losing my mind, I really am. Yes, that is correct. I can count to 5. I'm not an idiot. I swear. I'm not sleep deprived. Shut up. The second character has the great sword, sword and shield, dual blades, and the light bowgun. Only 4 on the second, because like I said, that's just how 14 splits into 3, 2 5s and a 4. And the second character is the one with all the low rank armor, and I've decided I am not farming all of the low rank armor on all 3 characters. In fact, I'm not even sure if I'm going to farm all of the high rank armor either. I might just wait for G rank and then do that. But the second character is where, like, all of the armor is going to stay, you know, low rank, high rank when G rank rolls around. Gonna have all of that, so only 4 weapons on that character, and then the third character has the rest, which is the hammer, lance, charge blade, insect glaive, and heavy bowgun. Yes, again, I can count to 5. I'm not sleep deprived, I swear. Oh dear. But yeah, that's how it works out. I tried to avoid giving characters similar weapons. Obviously, that didn't work out too well with the sword and shield and dual blades, which both ended up on second. But Switch Axe and Charge Blade ended up on 2 different characters, and Lance and Gun Lance ended up on 2 different characters. Which is kind of convenient, because Lance and Switch Axe were 2 of my favourite weapons. And then Gun Lance and Charge Blade were 2 of my least favourite weapons. So it kind of balances them out, if that makes sense. Kind of balances them out in a kind of opposite way. I don't know. Literal rambling at this point. I have no idea what I'm doing about. I'm just thinking about sleep. I'm thinking about maybe not being so tired tomorrow. Good God. Oh boy. I'm wondering what the next monster that'll come out will be. I'm hoping for Tigrex. I'm sure you're aware that I'm hoping for Tigrex, because Tigrex is my favourite monster that I have not fought. That's what I'm going to keep referring to him as until I do fight him. But it will probably be something like a Nagakuga or a Zinogre, something like that, because that's a lot of people's favourites as well, Zinogre and Nagakuga. Which, again, 2 monsters that I have not fought yet. Even though I'm working my way through Generations, I mean, oh my god, Generations is kind of slow. I'm trying to find, like, the next quest that'll put me into, like, 4-star, but I can't find it. I need to farm Lagombi for, like, Lagombi parts for one of my weapons. I need to farm Kezu a bunch for, like, 3 different weapons. And then I need to go to the volcano and pick up some Dragonite to get a lot of Dragonite for a lot of other weapons. And I'm only using the sword and shield. That was one of the weirdest things, though. Like, I'm only using the sword and shield, yet I need Kezu parts for 3 different sword and shields. So I'm just sort of like, well, oh, what? There's like 2 thunder ones and a poison one. Okay. Sure, why not? Let's fight the Kezu a lot. That's gonna be fun, right? Kezu! It's fun! Oh dear. But at the moment, I don't actually have access to the volcano. This is my plight right now. It's like, I need Dragonite to upgrade some of my weapons, but I don't have access to Dragonite because I can't get access to the volcano unless I do an event quest. Which the event quest does give me access to, like, a lot of really useful parts, like Volvidon, Oroctor, and Remordra parts, which I also need. Well, I need Remordra and Oroctor parts for 2 other sword and shields. And it also gives me access to SNS, but it's like, I've got to fight a Volvidon and an Iodrome, and as the Palico, I can't really do that all that fast. It takes me about half an hour, and I kind of don't really want to spend, like, all that long farming other crap, because I don't have a lot of confidence that in being able to fight these monsters. Like, I want to have enough time to be able to fight those monsters and not fail the quest, if that makes any sense, you know? So that's going to be fun, trying to farm that. It will give me some good Palico gear, because it's, like, pirate-themed gear. It's the only quest I have access to that, or it's the only quest that gives me access to the volcano at the moment, which makes me a little bit sad. But that's something I really do not appreciate in Generations, is the fucking urgent quest system. They really did a good job with the assignments and the optional in World, because it's like, oh hey, we can do the assignments here, this is how we progress the story, and then the optional is for extra gear and equipment and all sorts if we want to go for that, or just trying to fight a monster again, try and get some investigations and whatnot. I really like the quest system in Monster Hunter World, although I do miss the subquest. I'm saying this as if I'm like a Monster Hunter veteran, but whenever I come back to World after playing a little bit of Generations, I'm always like, oh man, the subquests were so cool, because you do the subquest and they give you a little bit of extra money and a few extra rewards, and if you're really struggling with the quest, you could end via subquest, but you wouldn't really want to do that. You want to get the subquest and then complete the quest, and then you just get a bunch more rewards, and it just makes farming just that little bit easier. But I suppose they replaced the subquests with the investigations, because you got those extra rewards at the end of the quest for that. So if they introduced, or if they had the subquest as well as the investigations, well, that'd just be like triple extra rewards, you know. Anyway, there's been a lot of Nergigante hunting in this video, and that's because I'm trying to make like a true tank build for the Lance, where, you know, I'm not too sure how exactly I want to build it. I'm kind of undecided at this point, but I know I want to go for as much physical defense as possible and the Challenger Mantle. I'm not sure if I want to build in the Volhazak recovery into it, or if I should just go for like health regen on the weapon itself, but I know I'm not going to be able to use any handicraft, so I need to kind of use a weapon that doesn't require handicraft, and Nergigante is a good contender for that. And I was like, I'm going to use the Lance because it gives you shit tons of defense, and then the Challenger Mantle as well to kind of play the role of a true tank. I have no idea how effective it's going to be, but it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun to find out once I get the week of the Lance. Which who knows when that's going to be. We're kind of nearing the end of the video at this point. This hunt did not quite go the way that I wanted it to, unfortunately. But it was still good fun, you know, fight until the end, no matter what. Even if you're getting your ass handed to you, you keep trying. You know, get knocked down 7 times, stand up 8, that sort of thing. Never surrender. Until the quest is over. You know, which the quest did end, just rather abruptly. And it really kind of does showcase both my lack of experience with the hunting horn and also kind of the difficulty of using the encores against a monster that is kind of fast, you know. Because here's me trying to put up the wind pressure melody. I see an opportunity because he's doing a rather big move. I should have gone for it earlier, but yeah, that's the super. And I'm dead. It's nasty. But practice makes perfect, and I clearly have not had enough of that. Anyway, here is my guild card for this week. I'm thinking of mixing up the guild cards with the 3 different characters, depending on like which one I used for the week of. Again, probably stream on Saturday, probably on YouTube, 2 PM British summer time. Probably just be cool Taroth stuff since she's returned. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.